The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and it is round 10 of the NRL in 2024, and this is Troy's tips for the week. Now, if you followed my tips last week, I am very sorry. I only got 4 out of 8, so I do apologise for that one. But hey, there were a few upsets throughout the weekend, I thought. So, look, I can't get them all, but hoping to bounce back this week with a full 8 games this week and hoping to get a perfect round. If not, getting 6 or 7, if not a perfect round. So stick with me, and if you do want to follow my tips, then I really appreciate that one. But anyway, let's get into it, and it is the Dolphins taking on the Sea Eagles at Suncorp Stadium, 7:50 p.m. Thursday the 9th of May. Now, this game is going to be a real interesting one because, look, the Dolphins have been playing some pretty good footy lately. The Sea Eagles, they got run down by the Canberra Raiders last week at Brookvale Oval. I still call it Brookvale Oval. And they will be wanting to get another win back on the board to stay in touch with that top 4. Look, for the Dolphins, Herbie Farnworth comes back after missing 4 games with a shoulder injury, and also Kenny Bromwich concussion is also back on deck as well. He is back on the bench in the number 15 jumper. Tessie New, unfortunately, who's been playing some good footy the last couple of weeks, scored a couple of tries, one against Parramatta and one last weekend, I think it was as well. He's out with an ankle injury, so unfortunately he is out of that game. For the Sea Eagles, Ben Travojevic is back after missing 3 games with a hamstring injury, so Ethan Bullimore goes onto the bench. Now, one of their best players of the season so far, Nathan Brown, he drops out due to a hip flexor injury, and also Lachlan Croker sustained a concussion against the Raiders and has entered the NRL concussion protocol. So Carl Lawton goes into the starting lineup there. Now, the Dolphins up against the Sea Eagles. As I said, it is 4th versus 5th, so both teams will want to stay in contention for that top 8, definitely top 8, but top 4. And look, they've only played the once, and that was last season, and that was at 4 Points Park, Brookvale Oval, and it was a massive win by 40 points to the Sea Eagles, 58 points to 18. Now, these two sides are completely different to 2023. The Dolphins coming off a 28 points to 26 win against the Cowboys, a small loss against the Knights, a massive win against the Eels, a loss against the Broncos, and a win against the Tigers. So they are win, loss, win, loss, win. So will this be a loss? Keep that trend continuing? Look, I think it will be. The Sea Eagles, they lost last week against the Raiders, 26 points to 24. They were 20-0 up at one stage there, and in that second half, the Raiders just run them down. So they'll be, as I said, disappointed about that one. They had a great win against the Eels, 32-18. The Titans, a close game there, high-scoring one, a draw against the Warriors, and a win against the Panthers, so they could be considered one of the form teams of the competition at the moment. So, look, I think that form is going to continue. I think the Sea Eagles will get the win in this game against the Dolphins, but look, it's going to be a great game. Good to see the return of Herbie Farnworth, a great player, formerly of the Brisbane Broncos, but now has made a new home at the Dolphins. So looking forward to seeing him play as well. Isaiah Katoa up against Daly Cherry Evans. That'll be a great matchup there. And look, these two backlines, they'll be exciting to watch. But I think the Sea Eagles will get the win in this one. Friday night, 2 games being played, and the first one is the Panthers taking on the Bulldogs at Bluebet Stadium, Penrith Park, for the older listeners that are listening. 3rd versus 8th. So the Bulldogs find themselves in the top 8 for the first time, I think, from 2017. And look, they would probably be the most improved team, I'd say, at the moment in season 2024 compared to 2023. And look, a major reason of their improvement would have to be captain Stephen Crichton. He's obviously got that experience, winning 3 premierships at the Penrith Panthers, played in 4 grand finals, and look, his leadership back to this Canterbury side is probably what is contributing to their success on the field. Look, the Panthers last week, head-to-head, the Bulldogs last season, it was a win to the Panthers pretty comprehensively, 44 points to 18. And look, they've been again one of the form teams of the competition, having won 4 out of their last 5. So they've beaten the Rabbitohs, Cowboys, Tigers, lost to the Sea Eagles, but beat the Roosters as well. The Bulldogs, they've had back-to-back wins against the Tigers and Knights, a very small loss to the Storm by 2 points only, and then a win against the Roosters as well. So they've been, as I said, the most improved side I can think of in season 2024. To their team lists, Isaac Tungo is out due to suspension. I think it's 1 week for a hip drop tackle in the South Sydney game last week. Blake Taft comes back to the fullback spot. Look, this is a pretty impressive backline for the I was going to say the Sydney Bulldogs. Geez, what am I? I'm going back to 1995 there. 1996, 1995. The Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, pretty impressive backline. Taff, Kiraz, Cherry, Crichton, Addo Carr, Matt Burton, Drew Hutchinson. So, look, Drew is not a superstar player, but he is a good organiser. He is a good player to have in your side. As I said, not a superstar player, but he does get his job done. Viliami Kikau in the second row there, experienced with the Penrith Panthers, but now over at the Bulldogs. He is probably the form forward of the competition at the moment. He's ranking pretty highly on the Dally M's as well, so he is in some good form there. Reid Marnie, what do you make of Reid Marnie? Is he the new Michael Ennis of the Bulldogs? He's a little bit of a pest sometimes on the field. He likes to get up in the face of the opposition. That is for sure. We've seen that last week and a few weeks ago with Hetherington from the Newcastle Knights. So, look, maybe that's just his job to try and put the opposition off, a little hooker against the big men of the opposition. But, look, Nathan Cleary is back for the Panthers, so massive in there. But Brad Schneider, he's been doing a pretty good job for the Panthers while Cleary has been out. Paul Alamotti comes in for Tungo. Jerome Luai, obviously there. Moses Leota, James Fisher-Harris. Luke Garner, Liam Martin in the second row, Isaiah Yeo. Look, it's a pretty strong squad. Great to see Maverick Geyer on the interchange bench, number 17 as well. So, look, this is going to be a really interesting game. I think the Penrith Panthers will get the win, although the Bulldogs, I don't think they'll get flogged. Normally, like previous years, you would probably say, yeah, the Panthers would absolutely smash the Bulldogs. But as I said, the most improved team, I think, this year, I think they gave the Storm a good run for their money, and the Storm are coming second in the competition at the moment. I think they're going to give the Panthers a good run for their money as well. I don't think they'll win, but it'll certainly be interesting. There is a number of former Panthers in this Bulldogs side. Obviously, Crichton, Burton, Viliami Kikau, Jamin Salmon as well, just to name a few. So it'll be interesting to see how they go up against their old club. Will Ivan Cleary have some coaching tips about them? Probably, but they'll probably be more worried about their own game. So going to tip the Panthers in that one. Now the next game on Friday night sees the Eels take on the Broncos at CommBank Stadium, Friday 8 p.m, 12th versus 7th. I will be there, so if you see me, come and say good day, and we'll have a chat all things Parramatta, or the game anyway on Friday night. Cannot wait to get back to CommBank. It's been a few weeks now, I think about 4 weeks, since our last game at CommBank. A trip to Darwin, a bye, a trip to Manly, so good to be back home. But the big news for Parramatta is Blaze Talangi has got the fullback job, taking the spot of injured captain Clint Gutherson. Sean Russell comes into the centres. Micah Sivo, he retains his spot on the wing there for Parramatta. Now, I must admit, as a Parramatta fan, I'm pretty disappointed, to be honest, that Micah is on the wing. Now, both coach and captain said that he did a stupid thing on the field in the 70th minute, 69th minute against Manly, and got sin bin for that. I'm thinking that he was pretty lucky not to be suspended for that action on Ruben Garrick, to be honest, but he wasn't. He received a fine. And look, as a Parramatta fan, pretty disappointed that he is named as a winger. Look, he can score some great tries, and yes, he did score 3 tries against Manly that night. He can score some tries at CommBank Stadium. He has got a great record there. It is something like 41, 42 tries in like 50 games or something ridiculous like that. But I probably wouldn't have had him in the side. But he's got another run there. Ethan Sanders at 5'8", Dylan Brown at halfback. I don't know why this is. I probably would switch them around, put Dylan back at 5'8", and Ethan Sanders at halfback. Ethan is a natural halfback. Dylan is a 5'8", so I probably would have switched them around as well. Ryan Madison, Sean Lane, Junior Paulo captains the side. The forward pack doesn't really change much. Bryce Cartwright comes back from a rib injury. So ribs, they can be pretty painful and they can be pretty touch and go on each and every week. But he's back this week onto the bench, and also we have on the bench, we have Makahesi Makatoa, Joe Ofahengawi, and Kelma Tuolagi. Luca Moretti, the 18th man. So for the Broncos, the massive news is that Adam Reynolds is out for an extended period, 3 months I think it is, with a bicep injury. So Josh Rogers comes in to take his spot in the halfback position. Ezra Mam remains at 5'8". Dean Mariner, he escaped suspension. He is on the wing. And Corey Oates comes in for Jesse Arthurs, who unfortunately suffered a broken jaw in last week's game. So, look, this is going to be a tough game for Parramatta. The last time these two sides met, it was at the Gabba in Brisbane in August of last year. That was due to the Women's World Cup, the World Soccer Cup that was being played, and them taking over Suncorp Stadium. So this game was moved to the Gabba. It was a massive win to the Broncos, 54 points to 10. Even the first time they played in 2023, it was in Darwin. It was 26 points to 16 in favour of the Broncos. So they got 2 wins out of 2 attempts last year, the Broncos. Big loss with Adam Reynolds out. Is that a massive loss? Yes, it is, obviously. He's been in and out a couple of times this year, but this is where Ezra Mams can step it up, and he can take over this side, run this side, even though he's playing 5'8", and I guess Parramatta got to watch Reece Walsh at the back there. Look, I'm going to tip Parramatta, and I'm going to tip them only in a close one. It's going to be very difficult, but I think they are under pressure. I think they can do it. I'm going to tip them by a very small margin to get the win at home. They need to get the win. The Broncos, they have been playing some good footy at times here and there. They've been a little bit up and down, but I just think the loss of Adam Reynolds is big, especially this first week, and with a new young halfback in there, I think the Eels will get the job just. The first game on Super Saturday sees the West Tigers take on the Newcastle Knights at Scully Park in Tamworth, so up the mid-north coast of New South Wales. Country area, so the Tigers taking their annual country game to Tamworth up there, so that is great for the community. They really get behind it, and they support their team, the Tigers, I guess, and you often see sometimes the opposition as well, which I think has been Newcastle the last couple of times as well, so they get a really good crowd there, so great to see that one. For the Tigers, Stafford Toa is back after a round 2 injury. Lachlan Galvin has been named at 5'8", and look, there has been a little bit of talk about an injury he has suffered, but he has been named. Jaden Sullivan comes in for the suspended Aiden Caesar, who copped a 4-week suspension due to it was a dangerous tackle. It wasn't deemed to be a hip drop tackle, apparently, to Graham Annesley. It was a dangerous tackle. So he's got a 4-week suspension. For the Newcastle Knights, Tyson Frizzell comes back, which is great for them. Great news, Tyson. Good player, Tyson. Don't mind him. So Dylan Lucas, who has playing some pretty good footy in that Tyson's spot there, he goes back to the interchange bench. So not too many changes for the Newcastle side, who have been back-to-back winners. Now the Tigers, sorry, just a bit of a mind blank for a second there. Look, the Tigers, now they have lost the last 5 straight and do sit in 15th position. However, they have been playing some good footy. They have had some controversial calls against them. But look, they are improved from last year, I think, under coach Benji Marshall, but they just haven't been getting the wins on the board. They got the win against Parramatta on the traditional Easter Monday game, but haven't done much since then. But as I said, there's been some controversial calls go against them, and look, one of them was the ankle tap by Brad Schneider on Justin Olam against Penrith out there at Bathurst, which at the time probably changed the game a little bit. And then the week after, Api Coruscant, the no try decision where there was supposedly a bit of separation, where most people thought it was a try. So look, as I said, they haven't been getting the results, but they are improved. The Newcastle side, on the other hand, they started off the year slow, and look, they are back-to-back winners, having beaten the Warriors and the Dolphins. Close games, those ones, but they have got the job done. And look, last time these two teams played was last season. It was the Knights 34 points to 18, and also right at the start of the year, the Knights got the win 14 points to 12. So the Knights have a little bit of a winning history against the West Tigers. I'm having a shocker tonight. So I'm going to tip the Newcastle Knights in that one. The second game, two traditional rivals. Well, I guess you could call them traditional rivals, I guess. But they are the St George Illawarra Dragons. I definitely know that the St George Dragons and South Sydney Rabbitohs are traditional rivals. So I guess you could call this a little bit of a rivalry game. But this is the Dragons up against the Rabbitohs, and this one is played at Netstrata Jubilee Stadium, Cogra Oval for the purists. So for the Dragons, Moses Sully comes back after he suffered that concussion in the Anzac Day game against the Roosters in the opening tackle of the game. So that shifts Zach Lomax back out into jersey number 2 on the wing, where he has been playing some great footy this year and scoring some great tries off kicks. So he is back out to the wing to make room for Moses. Jack Bird in the centres there as well. And not too much else changes there. Look, for the Rabbitohs, for the Rabbitohs, look, they have been, unfortunately, they've suffered a injury crisis at the moment. They do get Latrell Mitchell back from suspension, which is a huge boost, but they have lost Cameron Murray, Jai Gray, and Dean Hawkins to long-term injuries. So, as I said, massive injury crisis there. Dion Tiapa will make his NRL debut at halfback, so congratulations to him. Havili, starts at lock in the place of Cameron Murray. Really having a shocker tonight. I apologise for that one. He takes Cameron Murray's spot, and Matthew French will play his first NRL game off the bench. Jacob Host out through suspension, so congratulations to Matthew for making his NRL debut. Look, the Dragons, they have been up and down a bit like a roller coaster this season. They can get some good results, they can get some bad results. They lost last week in the local derby to the Sharks. They got smashed by the Roosters on Anzac Day, but then they had two really good wins against the Warriors and the West Tigers, and a loss to the Knights. Now the Rabbitohs, we all know that they are struggling at the moment this season. They find themselves on the bottom of the NRL ladder, a spot where they will not want to be. 4 straight losses with some big score lines. 42 points to 12 against the Panthers, 54-20 against the Storm, 34-22 against the Sharks, 34-4 against the Warriors. So some big scores there. They did get the win on Good Friday against the Bulldogs, 20 points to 16. So look, Latrell Mitchell's return is a big boost for the Rabbitohs. Is it going to be enough? There was a little bit of talk that Jack Whiten would go into 5'8" possibly, but he has gone in, stayed in the centre position, and potentially Cody Walker going to half, but that's not happening this week. Obviously, they had the drama last week of sacking coach Jason Demetriou. Ben Hornby is the caretaker coach, so he has made that decision to leave Jack in the centre position. So, look, this is going to be an interesting game. Who do you tip in this game? The Rabbitohs really need to get a win and get off that bottom of the ladder. But the Dragons, they can play some football at times. You know what? I'm going to tip the Dragons in this game, and I think they'll get the win, only just. Look, the last game on Super Saturday, 7:35 p.m, down there at Amy Park, sees two rivals, the Storm and the Sharks. These guys, they have some ding-dong battles from over the years, some pretty intense battles, some great hits in games, some potential boilovers as well. But look, these two from the 2016 Grand Final, obviously the Sharks won that one. And ever since that day, they've had some great battles. I remember Paul Gallen and Lukey Lewis having some great battles with these Storm packs. But look, the Sharks, they see themselves in first position, the Storm second position. I think the Storm have just casually gone about their way and got some wins across the board. They haven't... Look, they had a massive win against the Rabbitohs last week. They've won their last 5 straight. The Titans nearly knocked them off last week up there on the Gold Coast. And they've had some really close wins previous to that as well. 6 points against the Roosters, 2 against the Bulldogs, 2 against the Broncos. But they have got the job done, which is what you need to score victories in the NRL. So... for them, Jerome Hughes is out of the team due to a calf injury. Tyron Wishart replaces him. And look, the live wire, Sua Fa'alongo, gets his chance at fullback now. This kid, unbelievable. Scored a try last week. There was a little bit of talk that perhaps he may not play. I think he went off the field injured, but he has been named at fullback. Unfortunately, though, Ryan Pappenhausen is out for 4 to 5 weeks, I think it is. Unfortunately, it is never any good to see Paps go off the field with an injury. Unfortunately, he has suffered another one to the same leg, I believe. A small fracture above his ankle, I think it is. So he's out for 4 to 5 weeks. So hopefully he can come back bigger and better than ever because he is a champion player and we like to see him on the field. But this kid, Sua Fa'alongo, he gets his chance. It'd be great to see as well him get his chance for the next few weeks at fullback. For the Sharks, just one change, which is pretty good if you can name the same team week in, week out. Royce Hunt replaces Toby Rudolph on the bench. So, Toby suffering a knee injury, so he is out of this one. So, look, both teams have won 5 in a row. The Storm, as I said, they've won 5 in a row. The Sharks, now, some would say that they haven't played top shelf competition, but this is their chance against the Storm, second place. Look, the Sharks have had wins against the Dragons, Raiders, Cowboys, Rabbitohs, and Raiders again. So they played the Raiders twice in 5 weeks there. And look, some good sides there. Probably the best side there is probably the Raiders, the Cowboys, Dragons, and Rabbitohs. The Dragons, as I said, up and down. Cowboys, look, they've been up and down as well. We'll get to them shortly. And the Rabbitohs, we all know the season that they've had. So this is probably their first real test of getting a victory. They've only won 2 out of 14 down there at Amy Park. So not a good record down there. So I think that trend is going to continue. I think it will be 2 out of 15. I'm going to tip the Storm in that one. Sunday, 2 games, sees the Roosters take on the Warriors. A replay of the 2000, well, I suppose you could call it that, a replay of the 2002 grand final where the Roosters got up against the Warriors. Sorry, Wales fans, for that memory, but that's what happened. But that was a long time ago. Completely different players. And look, some massive ins for the Roosters. Spencer Leniu comes back from suspension that he copped from round 1. And Daniel Tupou comes back, and Victor Radley as well. Don't mind the old Victor Radley. Victor the Inflictor, how good a player is he? And also Jared Waerea-Hargreaves, he comes back as well. And a milestone game for him. This game will see him become the 4th player ever to play 300 games for the Roosters. So I think he needs to play another 7 games or another 8 games, 7 or 8 games for the Roosters, and he will become the most capped Rooster ever in history. So a massive effort from a front row forward there. Certainly one player I love watching play and wouldn't mind in the Parramatta team, to be honest, but just love his aggression on the field. Sometimes he can take it a little bit too much, but that's what you want to see from him anyway. And for the Warriors, Kurt Capewell is out due to a calf injury. Mitch Barnett goes to the back row. Bunty Afoa comes in the run-on side. Jazz Tavanga returns from a hamstring injury onto the bench as well. So great to see him back. Certainly a very, I guess you could call it, crowd favourite at the Warriors, Jazz Tavanga. So good to see there. Look, the Warriors, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, should he have had a penalty try awarded to him? Yes, I think he should have last week against the Newcastle Knights. But that's a story for another day, I guess. That day's gone and passed, but I think it was a penalty try. It wasn't. So he'll want to get back on the scoring list as well. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck comes up against his old side, the Roosters. Played there a long time ago, before he went to the Warriors originally, and then to rugby union, and then back to the Warriors. So started off as a Rooster, so always good playing against your old club. I'm sure that most players would say that. Look, the Warriors, they need a win. They haven't been the team of 2023, and I guess the fans would agree with me on that one. I don't know what it is with them in terms of why they can't get wins. They've lost the last 3. They drew against the Sea Eagles, and then they beat the Rabbitohs the week before. For the Roosters, look, they've scored 100 points in the last 2 weeks and only conceded 36 with wins against the Broncos and the Dragons. Close loss to the Storm, 18 points to 12. A close win against the Knights, and then a loss to the Bulldogs. So, look, the last time these two sides met was last year. The Roosters won 14-0, a close one. And the time before that, they got the win 20 points to 12. So, very close games these two teams play. And, look, with Origin just around the corner as well, James Tedesco, the captain, he will want to put to bed the rumours of Dylan Edwards getting a start at fullback. Personally, I think James Tedesco will get the New South Wales number 1 spot. He is the incumbent captain, so I think he will get the spot anyway, regardless of what form he is in or not. But certainly playing some okay footy at the moment. Luke Keary announced his retirement last week at the end of the season. Sam Walker, he's been pretty good the last couple of weeks, and one guy who has been outstanding the last couple of weeks is Angus Crichton as well, playing for a contract. The Roosters, I think, want to retain him, so they've got a bit of money now available, obviously with all these losses that they're going to have at the end of the year. I don't need to remind you who they are because they always get mentioned, but Angus Crichton, the Roosters will probably want to keep him, but he has been playing some great footy. He may be a contender for a New South Wales Origin spot, but I'm going to tip the Roosters in this one. Sorry, Wales fans. But I'm going to tip the Roosters in this one. And the last game of the weekend sees a Queensland derby. The Titans take on the Cowboys at Cbus Super Stadium on the Gold Coast. And look, this will be a great game. I just don't know. The Cowboys go into this game favourite, probably because of their position on the ladder. But the Titans, I think they've been the form team, or sorry, not the form team, as they have had a lot of losses in a row, but they have been playing some good footy ever since that Raiders game where they went down by 1 point, 21 points to 20. They had a loss against the Sea Eagles. They scored 30 points, so we know they can score points. They had a win against the Warriors and a close loss against the Storm. So if they can convert those close losses into wins, they'll slowly creep up the ladder. The Cowboys actually beat them the last time they played, 35 points to 22 in about round 4, I think it was, up there at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. So this game is being played on the Gold Coast, and last time they played on the Gold Coast it was 22 points to 13, a very unusual score, that one. Cowboys must have been up at half time in that one to kick a field goal, probably kick a field goal right on half time to get that 13 points. But look, I just can't see, or to the team lists, and Tanner Boyd is out after a wrist injury. That happened pretty early in the game. Chad Randall comes up to fill the void at 5'8", and Sam Verrills comes into the starting dummy half. A big in for them. Mo Fotuaika returns to the front row after concussion protocols. Chad Townsend is back for the Cowboys and replaces Jake Clifford. He was out for a week with a knee injury. That's the only change from the round 9 team. So, look, as I said, I think the Gold Coast side has been playing some good footy, just hasn't been getting the results. I think they'll get this result against the Cowboys at home at Cbus Super Stadium, and the Canberra Raiders have the bye this week in round 10. So, just recapping my tips for this week, round 10, and please follow my tips if you dare. I cannot guarantee winners, but I am going to tip the Sea Eagles, the Panthers, the Eels, the Newcastle Knights, the Dragons, the Storm, the Roosters, and the Titans. And look, this is all for round 10. Stay tuned for next week's Troy's tips for round 11, which is Magic Round. That'll be next week anyway. That'll be next Tuesday. So stay tuned for that one. But stay tuned this week as well. Thursday, there'll be an interview-based podcast with a Parramatta Eels fan and member. So back to the fans and members series there. So always great to talk to fans of rugby league, and even better when they are Parramatta fans. So stay tuned for who it is coming up soon. And look, we'll do a game day preview of the Eels versus Broncos game as well, so stay tuned for that one. Probably come out on Friday, may try to get it out on Thursday as well, so just stay tuned for that one as well. Don't know if I'll get a Broncos celebrity fan or a massive fan of the Broncos on, but I will try. If not, it'll just be little old me doing the game day preview, so stay tuned for that one as well. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you tip as good as me, if not better. And as I said, if you do follow my tips, I cannot guarantee a perfect round. So enjoy your footy over the weekend. Round 10, the competition is well and truly underway, and look, we're getting closer to that halfway point of the season, so enjoy your footy this weekend, and look, I'm going to say it, go Para.
for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.